It is pitch black. My job never stops. When you work on something, I always end up just continually working no matter how dark it is. Cell phones these days have flashlights, so no excuses. As long as they have a fridge full of beer, it works better. So anyway, so this is what we got going on so far. I have the front steps on there now, the drop steps added to the step bar itself. It's the ultimate redneck way of doing a drop loop versus going for the high expense of a $500–600 one. The step bars I've had on there since 2000 and let's see, when did I get those step bars? They've been repainted about 100 times. And they're still solid. There's no rust through them. I keep up with it all the time. Especially being in New York, you have that rust issue with the stupid salt. I know Connecticut gets it as well. It's a stupid chemical. This is the passenger side we're looking at. I love it how I'm drawing a blank. It's how tired I am from work and from doing this, even though it's only about 6–7 p.m. Yeah, it's like a chemical salt. But anyway, they've been on there since I got the truck in '07. I had to get new step bars down the line because the originals had rusted out because no one took care of them. So we're looking at probably about 2009, 2010 they've been on there. And they're currently Rhino lined right now, which is nice. I did that because they're slippery as fuck painted. I mean, you get some snow and some water on there, and I've done some pretty hard falls getting into this truck, and it's not that bad. It's a 6-inch lift with 35-inch tires. It's not that high off the ground, but man, when you slip off that bar, it hurts like hell, especially when your knee hits it. But these are the step loops from Bully. They're about $40 each on Amazon for 2 of them, and I got them as a kit for a special price of $60 for 4 of them, which was a very limited time offer. They had some little sale going on, so I lucked out with that one. So I put this one in the back. This is in the passenger side, going into my truck. I got paint on them currently, that's why I'm not trying them out. But they work actually surprisingly well. I never thought I would go for something like this. I thought it was unmanly. As an airplane passes by. I thought they were an unmanly thing to get. Let's see if I can angle my camera off my father's Jeep. I said try. I don't know how well you can see me, but it's a nice step up. I'm not saying I'm going to use mine all the time, but there are some days where I'm a little sore, or I'm in pain, or I got hurt for some reason, and yeah, I got a clown on the front of my truck for Halloween. I've yet to take the decorations down, but it works. It works good. This would be the final part two of the video that I started for lifted truck, drop loop, aka old folks step, whatever you want to call it. But honestly, it's really great to do. If you're catching this as a second video versus the final versus the first one, because this is unedited, I'm doing it on my phone, so everything's going to be unedited. But what I ended up doing was I went to Home Depot. These are the bolts that came with it with a nut. Washers. There's a washer on this side. I ended up just drilling out the top hole a little bigger so it could fit the 5/16 the size the bolts are. I went to Home Depot and I got 3-inch ones to go through the bottom. I had to drill through, let's see, I had to drill through the bottom of it, which never had an existing hole, to make it fit a 5/16 bolt as well. As you tighten the clamps down really tight, they start deforming around the shape of the step bar. And then what I did as well, just as an extra, use of tightening. They come with plastic wedges. And I don't know if you can see it too well, because I can't see my phone, but I put a plastic wedge in there. And I tighten the bottom bolt, the bottom nut, until the plastic broke in half. And it just pins it in there really nice and tight. And I tighten the top bolt, and I tighten the bottom bolts until I get a nice snug fit. And I've stepped on them. I weigh about 190. I've had some other people test them who weigh about 290, give or take. You know, I'm not 100% sure offhand how much they weigh, but it's a nice strong hold. You know, versus, as an example, when I go to step up normally, I'm putting my leg up. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's a good height. It's 2 feet off the ground is where the step bars first hit. These ones are 7 inches down, which is like 1 foot something. Please, somebody do the math. Like I said, I'm burnt out today. This is a lot easier step. When you gotta reach in and grab this hand rest, grab this, yeah, I told you people, I'm fucking tired. Handrail, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's an easy get in and get out. The only downside getting out is, especially if people don't know about it, is they got to make sure that if they're going to use that step, they got to position their foot onto it so they don't fall, and then hold on and get off. And I got to say for myself, at being 27 years old, you know, and I'm not saying I'm an old fart, I've had a lot of injuries throughout the years. It's a nice easy step in and out for a lifted truck. And I would have to say, if anybody decides they want to do something that's permanent, it is permanent. There is no little lever you pull. It is a permanent fixture. They actually look pretty decent. I gotta say, it actually looks pretty good. Pretty good, pretty decent, whatever you want to say. Especially when you paint them black, it does look like a drop loop step that somebody put there. Originally from, you know, a manufacturer. The only difference is you're using your original step bars, which is great. You save so much money right there. And then you're adding these things that are $40 a piece now. That's $80. That's nothing. Then you go to Home Depot, you get 8 3-inch 5/16 bolts for me, for galvanized steel. They were, don't quote me on it, but I think they were about 79 cents to $1. I don't remember. I was buying a ton of shit at the time. But they're in that ballpark range. So now you add 80 bucks. Let's say, for argument's sake, each bolt was $8. So now it's 88 bucks. If you got some cans of paint laying around like I do, slap them some paint, because they are going to get scratched up when you're working on them. You know, I didn't give a shit. If they get scratched, it's fine. They're aluminum. They're not going to rust, which is great. All I got to do is keep up with the step bar. And when I paint the step bar, I paint the drop loops. It's no big deal. It's a lifesaver, you know. It's very cheap. I was looking at drop loops for my truck. I couldn't get the right measurements from a company. You know, I wanted to know what it is from the top of the step to the bottom of the door. They wouldn't give me a measurement, which was aggravating as hell. And I'll give you guys a measurement now, because I know a few of you are probably thinking, what the hell's the measurement? Alright, so let's see. For argument's sake. So from the ground up to the step bars, originally, are about 2 feet, 2'1", give or take. From the drop loops, they're 1'5". Okay, like I said, it's about a 7-inch difference. Now we're going from the door, we're going from the top of the step. Now these are steps originally, so I painted over them so many times. Weston. So originally from the step that it was to the door is about, give or take, 8 inches to the inside of the cab. With this extra drop loop, we're looking at about 1'4". But that's 1'4" of you being able to now lift yourself easily into the truck. And you know, when you're dealing with people who are older, who can't move as quick as younger people can, and younger people who've worked too hard their early years of their life and got hernias and pulled their back and dislocated their shoulder from heavy working and lifting, it's a good thing, because there's some days, if it's raining out or snowing, I'm walking around and I sound like I'm walking around on packing peanuts. I'm snapping and cracking as I'm walking around. That's not a good sound. And there's some days I get in my truck and it's like, oh, and then I get out, it's like, oh. With that extra drop loop, I will diminish that pain. So I'd advise anybody, if they want to do this, it's definitely affordable. If you really want to get down to how much everything costs, we'll do a little pricing. So, all right, $80 for that, $8 for bolts, for argument's sake, 88 bucks. Can of paint from Home Depot, interior, exterior, fast dry spray paint. This was gloss. It's like $1.79, one can. It was a can I used on a lot of things, so I didn't use a full can. It'd probably be about half a can, depending on how much you want to spray and paint and how many things you want to coat. $1.79. So now we add, let's say, $2 for argument's sake. We're looking at what, 80? We're looking at $90. That's 90 bucks. That's it. You're not looking at $300–400 for a pair or a single. And for a second-gen Dodge Ram, it's tough to find, you know, step bars that fit these things. I wanted to go for the automatic ones, but you know, that was the last question. They didn't make them, and they wanted $1,000 for it. And I said, fuck that shit. So that's it. I hope everybody enjoys the video, and sorry if I drowned you out with boring commentary, but hey, enjoy it. You want to do it, you want to take on the project, go right ahead. It's really simple. Like I said, I forgot one more thing before I forget. With the brackets that are supplied, the bolts are supplied, the nuts are supplied, and if you buy 2 kits, you have plenty of washers to use on the bolts you buy from Home Depot. So don't go and buy other, sorry, not bolts, washers. Don't buy extra washers from Home Depot. 2 kits will supply you with enough washers to do this whole install. The straps have a washer, and the nut has a washer as well. I would advise people do washers. I never did washers before on a lot of shit I installed. I never had any issues. But when I found out from this guy I talked to one time, who was very intelligent in mechanical stuff, he said the thing with washers is that when you use a nut, my thumb is the nut. Well, let's do my pinky is the nut. Let's bust some nuts here, people. You take a nut, you put it in a hole, you put so much force. These things have so much force on them that it actually bends the bracket. The bracket does not look like that. That would be freaking awesome. When you get the bracket, it looks like a channel. And from constant tightening and tension on it, it stretches the bracket so it fits around the pipe. Now, you have a hole in that pipe that you drilled, or existing, but I had to drill out the hole to 5/16, and on the bottom there's a little hole, and I drilled just above that little hole to get a 5/16 bolt in it. You can see it's cracked right here. That's what I was talking about, the wedges when they're cracked. That's a nice tight fit. It might need some tightening down the line, but so far so good. But I drilled above, there's a little hole below it, and I drilled above, not this little hole, but there's one on this face of it. And I drilled a hole above it, just before the edge, and I drilled it again with a 5/16 to fit a 5/16 bolt. And Jesus Christ, I forgot where I was going with this. Come on, brain, work. When you're tightening, that's right. Man, I love living down the road from a friggin' airport. It's like every 30 minutes. As you tighten it with a bolt, with no washer, what ends up happening is that bolt or that nut puts a lot of pressure on that outside of that hole. And what happens is you tighten it, it's looking for a weak spot to break through. Now if you break through that hole with that big giant nut head, that hex head on it, that really sucks ass. I'm not gonna lie, I've done that before. It really sucks ass. You put a washer on there. What the washer does is the washer is bigger than the hole, and it gives it a lot more surface area when you're tightening that bolt down. And what that does is it gives it a lot more surface area, and there's a less likely chance it's gonna rip right through that hole. And you're gonna know you have a nice, secure, tight fit. A little bit of Loctite when you're done is good. I didn't do the Loctite in case I gotta do adjustments down the line, because this is the first for me. I figured let me leave the Loctite off it. I did spray it with some spray paint, but spray paint is very easy to cut through when you gotta take a bolt or a nut off. So I figured let me just spray paint it on there. If I like it the way it is, I'll clean it up, brush it up, put some Loctite, spray some more paint over it, and that's it. I know, now I'm into almost 16 minutes of a video. I was hoping to be 10 minutes. These things, yes, they might be slippery if you step on them. But when you are entering the vehicle, the only thing you are going to be stepping on is this bar, is the drop loop. And my next foot will go right onto my original step bar, which is coated in bed liner, and then I hop in. So less likely you're going to step on the brackets. But I am going to recoat my whole steps with bed liner, and that's it. It's at that time of year they're going to need a nice little coat again. So that's it. I'm done. No more talking. I think I've run out of breath and intelligence for everybody. But hey, you know what? You want to do it? 90 bucks. Saves you a headache. It's great for down the line. You know, I've talked to a lot of people with lifted trucks or that had lifted trucks, and the number one thing they've always said to me is, man, when I was younger I had a lifted truck, but man, it was so hard to get in and out of it after a while. Hey, 90 bucks. Look at that shit. You can keep your lifted truck until it dies. That's it. Alright everybody, it's Mike signing off from Mike's Custom Works. Have a good night.